Hello friends, it's me Blanche with Feast in the Middle East and welcome to my renovated kitchen. Actually, it was just a cabinet refacing job. They did great. I wanted a fresh, crisp white kitchen with bronze handles and I love how light and bright everything is. I wanted my very first recipe from this renovated kitchen to be very special. And I'm going to celebrate by sharing this recipe for ka'k al-asfar, which means yellow bread in Arabic. This bread is eaten throughout the Holy Land as well as in Greece, and it gets its yellow color from turmeric and it's fragrant with anise seeds. This bread is traditionally eaten during Easter time, and I'm going to share with you the significance of this bread as well as share with you my special recipe. And it doesn't matter whether you're religious or not, I think you're going to enjoy it right here on Feast in the Middle East. Would you take a look at this bread? I wish you could smell it. It's got nigella seeds, which are super healthy. As a matter of fact, there's an Arab proverb that says, nigella seeds cure everything except death. But it also has sesame seeds, and you could use black sesame seeds too. But I love the fragrant anise, and the beautiful turmeric gives it that color. There are many theories of where this bread originated and a lot of symbolism. So some people say, at least among Palestinians, they say that this bread symbolizes the top of the tomb that was removed when Jesus was buried. But there's also a completely different significance of this bread for the Greeks. This bread is called artos, and artos means cake or loaf of bread. Now, artos symbolizes the physical presence of the resurrected Christ among the disciples. So the priest blesses the artos with a special prayer, and he sprinkles it with holy water. And for the full week after Easter, artos is carried in a solemn procession around the outside of the church. Now, I know from personal experience, when Palestinians make this bread, they make plenty of it. They bring it to the church so that it can be blessed by the priest. They share some with the church, and they also bring some home to share some with family. I say whether you're religious or not, this rustic bread is just too amazing to not enjoy and share with your family and friends. So what I want to do is share this recipe with you in the hopes that you could pass this tradition along to the people that you love. What's great is this bread is not too sweet, so it goes great with savory as well as sweet toppings. So are you guys ready to get baking? The ingredients are super simple. Let's get started. Okay, we're gonna start with 2 cups of flour. My favorite is Italian Caputo flour, but you could use any kind of all-purpose flour you wish. To that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of ground turmeric, and then we're gonna add a little dash of ground nutmeg, followed by a tablespoon of ground anise seeds. This is gonna add tremendous flavor. I like to sift everything together to prevent clumping and ensure the bread is nice and fluffy. Next, we're going to add mahlab, which you could purchase online. It's a cherry kernel powder that gives it a cherry almond flavor. You could also find it in Middle Eastern stores. Also, 1 tablespoon of nigella seeds. You could use black sesame seeds. And we're going to add 2 more tablespoons of toasted sesame seeds. I'm going to mix this all up thoroughly before adding the wet ingredients. The wet ingredients are super simple. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Now, I prefer to use Palestinian unfiltered olive oil. It has such robust flavor, and I will link a card to guide you on how to choose the best olive oil in the market. I personally buy mine online, but if you have any authentic olive oil from the Middle East in a market near you, go for it. Now I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of avocado oil. I prefer avocado oil for baking. I feel it is the best quality, the least processed, and the least inflammatory. What you want to do is really work that dough with your fingers to incorporate the oil with the flour. You want the flour to drink up all that oil. As a matter of fact, I like to leave this mixture on the counter covered with cloth for 6 hours because I want the flour to drink up all that oil really well.
6 hours later.
All right, time to add the yeast mixture. I have 1/2 cup of sugar, and to that I'm going to add 1 packet of yeast. Add 1 cup of warm water to dissolve the yeast, and you want to stir it up to dissolve the sugar as well. You want the mixture to be a bit frothy before you add it to the flour mixture. All right, now I'm going to add the yeast and water a little bit at a time. I'm going to work it with my fingers to make sure that it drinks up all the liquid. Sometimes you might need to even add more water. It depends on the kind of flour that you use and how much liquid it drinks up. You want the final result to be a sticky, pliable dough. You do not want the dough to be too dry because we're going to roll it into balls and shape them. This will make 3 nice-sized loaves. Now, if you have a big family, feel free to double or triple this recipe. After forming a nice pliable ball of dough, I like to cover the top with a little more olive oil to prevent it from drying. Then you want to cover it and let it sit for another hour so that it rises a little bit more. Now you can divide the dough into 3 portions, roll them up into a ball, and you can use a rolling pin to flatten them a little bit because I'm going to use a mold to imprint a design on each one. If you don't have a rolling pin, feel free to just use your hands to flatten it a bit. Now I have this mold with different designs on both sides. I'm just going to put it on the disc of dough and flatten it so that the design is imprinted. There are so many different kinds of molds online. Just look up whatever you like and use whichever mold you like. And if you don't want to get one, you could even use the bottom of a colander or use a fork to make indentations. This is where you could let your own creativity shine through and make these breads your own. And guess what? After this step, I'm going to ask you to cover them and let them sit for another hour before baking. Don't come for me. This is so important to make sure that the loaves are as fluffy as possible. No one said baking was something that you did in 10 minutes. It's definitely an all-day extravaganza, but it's worth it in the end. Bake for 400 degrees for about 15 minutes until they are golden brown and look like this. I just love the smell of these loaves between the anise seed and the fresh olive oil. These loaves to me smell like Bethlehem, the Nativity Church in Palestine where I used to go to church when I was a kid. These are traditionally eaten with fresh Lebanon cheese coated with olive oil and hard-boiled eggs. How can something so simple taste so delicious? It fills my heart to share this recipe with you as this is sort of a lost art. I wanted to preserve this ancient tradition and pass it on to you in the hopes that you'll keep it alive and share it with your family and friends. I know I'll be making this symbolic bread every Easter for my family, and I can't wait to share it with everyone. If you like what you see, hit like and subscribe, and I'll be back with more special recipes I can't wait to share with you.